So we have some breaking news, guys. Elizabeth May has resigned as Green Party leader, effective immediately. This is not a surprise in that she was going to leave. It was very clear that 2019 was going to be her last election as Green Party leader. But I'm a bit surprised to see her leave right now. I thought she was going to hold on to the job until the next leader was selected, but apparently she wants to go now. She wants to take a bit of a back seat, and she wants to offer the interim leadership to Joanne Roberts, who was a Green Party candidate out east in the 2019 election, and they'll select their new full-time leader in 2020 at a conference in PEI. So until then, Roberts will be at the helm, and the future of the Green Party will be very much up for debate. Here's the thing. More than any other party leader, Elizabeth May personified her party. When you think of the NDP, you might think of Jagmeet Singh. When you think of the Liberals, you might think of Trudeau. When you think of the Conservatives, you might think of Scheer. But all of those parties have existed before, those leaders, and will exist after them. And technically, the Green Party existed before Elizabeth May. But Elizabeth May has been for a long time one of the few Green Party members that's known coast to coast to coast. For a long time, she was the only federal Green MP, and she basically was that party. Whenever there was something about the Green Party, it was also about Elizabeth May, in a way that just isn't comparable between Trudeau and the Liberals, Singh and the NDP, Scheer and the Conservatives. There's no comparison there. She is and was the Green Party. And with her going, this creates immense opportunity for the Greens, but also immense pitfalls for the Greens. Because if the next leader finds success where May failed, they could reach new heights. Yet if the next leader has weaknesses that are higher than May's and they don't solve the issues that May had, then the Green Party could essentially disappear at the federal level, and all the gains they've made could be rendered irrelevant. That's what's really at stake here. The leader was so important to the Green Party, was so essential to their image, that the next leader has big shoes to fill. Whether those shoes were positive or negative from your perspective, they have some big shoes to fill from Elizabeth May's departure. On the one hand, you could say that May found a lot of success. When she started as Green Party leader, they had no seats anywhere in the country. And now there are multiple Green Party seats at provincial levels, although only in a few provinces, and there are 3 federal Green seats. So you can point to Elizabeth May and say, hey, she did something to bring the party some success and prominence and notoriety. On the other hand, 11 years ago in 2008, the Greens had a higher vote percentage than they do right now. So you can say that Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party for 11 years, actually shrunk the Green Party's vote. And yes, while they turned 0 seats into 3 seats, and in, a first past the post system, seats are more important than votes, it's less than ideal that 11 years of, leadership has you shrink the party. So some could say that Elizabeth May maybe got lucky in winning 3 seats more than any kind of skill, because she's shown that she hasn't been able to bring the Green brand to any sort of mainstream prominence beyond a few bubbles in different parts of the country. There's also the issue of ideology. Elizabeth May, I feel, doesn't represent the eco-socialist reality that needs to face Green Party members. The fact is that the Green Party fails overwhelmingly because they are too welded to a capitalist vision of green politics. And Elizabeth May, as a former conservative operative, fundamentally was part of that vision. A vision which didn't really buy into social justice, a vision which never really bought into workers' rights, a vision which was inconsistent at best when it came to the rights of women, an image which did not convince progressive Canadians that the Greens could be trusted on anything except climate. And even with green politics, we saw in this last election that Elizabeth May was a tar sand champion. So whether it was on climate or whether it was on social or economic justice, Elizabeth May's Green Party was neither progressive nor were they the most Green Party. I really think that under Jagmeet Singh, the NDP put forward a more credible climate vision than the Green Party, even though the NDP's vision left much to be desired as well. And so what can you say about Elizabeth May? She took a country where climate change is becoming a primary issue, and she failed to capitalize because she refused to combine those issues credibly and meaningfully with broader social and political and economic justice. And maybe that's one of the reasons Elizabeth May has failed. And so in some ways, the Green Party is facing a fork in the road. Do they continue to go with Elizabeth May's eco-capitalist route, a green hybrid of the Liberal and Conservative parties? Is that the vision for the Green Party going forward? Elizabeth May would say yes. People like Andrew Weaver in BC would say yes. Or is the vision to become more of an eco-socialist party? And I know there are Green Party activists who believe that's the vision. And the next leader and the next leadership of that party will have that decision to make. Will they go in an eco-socialist direction, or will they maintain Elizabeth May's eco-capitalist direction? And that's going to be the fundamental question at play for this Green Party and how it develops and if it survives. Because I really fundamentally believe that the only way we address climate change is through a challenge to capitalism as well. And however limited the NDP's challenge was in the past election, they were the only party at least willing to partially reckon with the fact that challenging the neoliberal dictates that have ruled us for generations is the only way we can move towards a climate-just future. That's the only way. It requires a Green New Deal. And the Green Party under Elizabeth May did not support a Green New Deal. They supported green initiatives, but without the social and political and cultural and economic infrastructure to make those things real and lasting and meaningful and transformative. That's one of the reasons why the Green Party has not been able to break through on climate. So that's really what's at stake. The next leader is going to have to wrestle with those questions, and we don't know who the next leader will be. Look to the two people in caucus right now, the two MPs in caucus. Both would have a chance to become leader given that they have a central position and that they're sitting in the House of Commons. But look to also a couple other figures. Alex Tyrell, who is the leader of the Quebec Greens and who identifies as more of a left-wing Green, has indicated some interest in becoming the next Green Party leader. And you might even see somebody like Jody Wilson-Raybould, who is an independent now, but who is very close to Elizabeth May and the Greens, throw her hat into the ring to take over the Green Party and bring it in her direction. And that could be very interesting, although I think she would be more along the lines of Elizabeth May's eco-capitalist direction. But whatever happens, this is a fundamental turning point in the history of the Canadian Green Party. No other leader leaving will have such a potential devastating or rejuvenating effect as Elizabeth May leaving can have for the Greens. So even though the Green Party only has 3 seats, and even though there are 4 parties bigger than it in the House of Commons, and even though they get less votes now than they did 11 years ago, what happens with Elizabeth May's departure and the rise of her new successor, whoever he or she may be, is going to be very important for the future of Canadian politics and how climate change politics play a role in that. Because how the Green Party chooses to portray itself in regards to climate justice and climate change will shape how other parties do so as well. And if the Greens take a more eco-socialist direction, you might see more avenue for cooperation between the Greens and the NDP. Look, I made a video a few months ago saying that the Greens and the NDP should not merge, and I stick by that. The Green Party does not have the political and social and economic, and in some ways, climatic vision to match the progressivism being offered by the NDP. I stick by that 100%. But if a new Green Party administration takes their party to the left and shows a willingness to build an eco-socialist Canada, then in a few years, discussions about formalized cooperation between the Green Party and the NDP, maybe they can resume on good faith. I'm not saying that's going to happen right now. I'm saying that's probably still unlikely. But there's a possibility there. If the Greens can move into a vision that understands that socialism is required to build a climate-just Canada, then there will be more room for cooperation between them and the NDP, and I would welcome that cooperation in the future.